you're watching Left, Right and Centre this Friday night. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the show this evening, India appears to be heading for a record voter turnout in this general election, with several states recording a massive jump from the last time. But is this higher turnout indicative of a Modi wave, or can a higher turnout really tell us anything about what voters are thinking? Well, 349 constituencies have voted so far in this general election. 194 are still left, and the turnout is a high 66%, much higher than the 57.5% turnout that these areas saw in 2009. But what does this high turnout really mean? The Congress and the BJP are continuing to trade charges over the Modi wave, especially after Mr. Modi's massive roadshow in Varanasi yesterday that saw lakhs come out onto the street in his support. The Congress insists that large crowds and high voter turnouts mean nothing, while the BJP says it's foolish to ignore sentiment on the ground.
No citizen in this country is not for Modi. You watch the TV channels. Everybody is for Modi. Only 16th of May the reality will come to the fore.
जनता जागरूक हो रही है और वो अपना वोट बड़े पैमाने पर कर रही है। इन्होंने जो कल रोड शो भी किया है कि उसमें ज्यादातर भीड़ बनारस के बाहर की ही थी।
Entire wave is not anybody's creation, but it is certainly a wave which is very inspired from the people themselves.
This expressed Modi wave is the creation of the media. I think the country as a whole is swept by any Modi wave.
अब तक यूपी में मोदी की लहर थी, भाजपा की लहर थी। ये लहर मोदी जी के नामांकन करने के साथ ही सुनामी में परिवर्तित हुई है।
भीड़ तो ऐसी होती जैसे आप रैली करते हैं वैसे चारों तरफ से इकट्ठा करके बसें लगा के भीड़ तो की जा सकती, तमाम लोगों की भीड़ हो रही है।
The people were neither sponsored nor had been brought. तो प्रधानमंत्री का उत्तर जनता मीडिया के माध्यम से दे रही थी कि हम मीडिया क्रिएशन नहीं है, हम स्वयं स्फूर्त हैं।
वोटिंग परसेंटेज निश्चित रूप से बढ़ा है, लेकिन ये अगर मोदी फैक्टर की वजह से बढ़ा है तो मोदी तो हमेशा होते थे। मोदी तो गुजरात में भी चुनाव लड़ते हैं, मोदी हमेशा चुनाव लड़ते रहे हैं पहले भी, तो उस वक्त तो नहीं होते थे। ये जो है एक तो लोगों में ईमानदार सरकार, एक अच्छी सरकार की ललक पैदा हुई है और ईमानदार सरकार चाहते हैं।
Well, the question is whether a higher voter turnout, whether large crowds equal a Modi wave. Are the numbers telling us something, or is it actually hard to decipher what the voter is actually thinking? Joining us tonight are commentators this evening, N. Ram, the former editor of The Hindu, Sandhya Jain, columnist with The Pioneer. The political panel tonight, Derek O'Brien of the Trinamool Congress joins us from Kolkata this evening, Gaurav Bhatia from the Samajwadi Party, Pinky Anand from the BJP and Sanjay Jha from the Congress Party. Let me ask Mr. N. Ram first. Sir, do you believe that this higher turnout is indicative at all of a wave in favor of Mr. Modi? And what do you make, firstly, of the Congress's repeated attack in the last 24 hours on the BJP for the crowds that turned out in Varanasi? Because it was a massive rally. Would you also dismiss it as just a crowd of supporters that were bussed into Varanasi, or does that really reflect something on the ground?
Yeah, let me answer the second question first. I think there was enthusiasm, there's no question about it. There was religious symbolism, but there was a triumphalism about the whole event that was clearly orchestrated, drawing on quite a lot of support from the ground, but orchestrated. And I think the media coverage of it, television coverage of it, was quite over the top. There's nothing wrong in covering it to show what's happening there, but the kind of focus, the duration of the coverage, the live coverage, as though it was some kind of triumph already encountered in India, I think it was quite over the top. But on the other thing, I don't see any evidence of a wave. There is certainly a surge after he was announced, Mr. Modi was announced as the prime ministerial candidate. He's having an impact. He's drawing in new sections. But a wave is quite different. We shouldn't use these words idly. A wave overwhelms everything. A wave would take you well over 300, 350 seats for the party alone, for the BJP alone. And nobody, no opinion poll, not yours, no other opinion poll, nobody seriously claims that the BJP is going to win on its own, that as a single party, a majority in this election. Therefore, it's not a wave, but there is a clear impact, an effect. Call it what you will, but to use the word wave is to devalue the word, and it's quite over the top.
Okay, very interesting words there from Mr. N. Ram Sandhya Jain. Not a wave, but a clear impact. He says that there's certainly a surge as far as Mr. Modi is concerned, but as he says, a wave would have meant 300 or 300 plus seats for the BJP alone. Would you say there's some merit in that?
There's always some merit in what Mr. Ram says. The point is that this surge which he has accepted is happening is to be seen in the wider context of the nation as a people's participation enhancement, of staking a claim and being very active stakeholders in governance and trying to address any problems that they feel vis-a-vis the government of the day. I think the effect of the higher voter turnout is going to be state-wise according to the ground sense that people have. I think in Bengal the 82% means a reaffirmation of the strength of the Banerjee, and state-wise it will be the result will reflect the feeling on the ground of who is ahead where. In UP it has to be Mr. Modi and the BJP.
But is it a Modi wave or is it an anti-Congress wave? And that's the question we've been asking from the beginning. Are these people coming out because they're angry with the Congress and the central government, or because it's a positive vote for Mr. Modi?
I think this vote has to be seen as positive for Mr. Modi, because without Mr. Modi the BJP was going nowhere. And if we look honestly at the political spectrum today, he is the one political actor who's going across the country. He is the one who is in demand. He is setting the agenda. He is setting the language of the elections, and everyone is reacting to him. Nobody has set any agenda on any issue, even environment, apart from Mr. Modi. And one thing I want to say, compared to previous elections, the way the media itself has kind of blanked out the left parties who have dominated the television studios all these for at least 2 decades now. They've been blanked out because they are perceived as not being there in this election. So it's not just what Mr. Ram says that media is going over the top. I think media is also going with what a sense of flow is with the people.
I am going to take that briefly back to Mr. N. Ram, because Mr. Ram, when Sandhya Jain says that Mr. Modi is setting the agenda, is he setting the agenda, or as you are suggesting, is the media in a sense setting the agenda by focusing, you feel, disproportionately on him?
No, I do not want to suggest that this is a creation of the media. It's not, obviously not. They're trying to depict it. My over-the-top comment is, when you cover something, I heard many of the anchors and the reporters sort of extol the kind of support that Mr. Modi was getting, reporters editorializing and so on. So that was the triumphalist note, and also the excessive attention, time given to this obviously mobilized crowd, based on quite a lot of enthusiasm there on the ground. There's no question about it. But it's just one constituency. That is what I refer to. But certainly it's not the creation of the media, but I repeat, the coverage, this kind of saturation coverage was over the top, in my opinion anyway.
Well, I think many would say that much of what TV covers today is always a little OTT and saturated, and I'd agree with you on that on many fronts. Derek O'Brien, let me bring you in here. What do you think the numbers are telling us? From your political experience, what do you think this high voter turnout, 66% in 349 constituencies, what is the message people are sending?
Well, I was in school when I used to read Mr. N. Ram's editorials, and I often don't agree with a lot of his views, but today I think he's hit the nail bang on the head. There is no Modi wave. Someone after absolutely no Modi wave. I totally agree with what Mr. Ram says. A wave means, forget about 300, at least 273 on your own, far away from that. Our own estimates is that the BJP will struggle to get up to 180, 190. But I think the comment is, someone said that Mr. Modi is setting the agenda for this election. I would not I said, I think in some states, yes, maybe, certainly Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, but in Bengal, in Orissa, in Tamil Nadu and a few other states, I can tell you he is not setting the agenda. The narrative in these states is being guided, or rather is being written by the key players in these states who had great track record of development, be it Mamta Di in Bengal, be it in Orissa, be it in Tamil Nadu. They are setting the agenda. So to suggest that Mr. Modi across the BJP is setting the agenda, no. Number one, the numbers, well, in Bengal, as you said at the top of the program, Bengal has a great tradition, and in fact, everyone in Bengal across parties, we are really happy that when it comes to Bengal, we are not like Mumbai or Maharashtra. 85%, so good. I don't know why the Congress are trying to interpret these numbers, or the BJP trying to interpret this high percentage, because this is very good television between now and the 16th of May. But if you really look at the Congress and the BJP, we want to discuss some real broader issues. What are their views on women's reservation? What are their views on FDI? What are the two parties' views on FDI, insurance and pension? What are the views on Land Act?
Are you saying the elections got stuck around the personality of Mr. Modi, for or against, essentially?
That is the benefit. Whether it's, you know, at one end you say that they have the debate is that whether the gentleman married someone 30 years ago, is that really important? Or for that matter, about a sister making a comment about her brother or her cousin, not important. I think this is playing to the advantage of the Congress and BJP, because if we come to the real issues, Nidhi, let's talk women's reservation. What is the Congress's view? What is the BJP's view?
Okay, so you're saying the real issues have got sidelined. And I think you have a point there, because no one is talking about these things. Everyone's talking about Mr. Modi or Rahul Gandhi or Priyanka every day. You're right. It's very personality driven. And therefore, Gaurav Bhatia, though, let me come to the point about Varanasi and this whole, before I come to the Congress and BJP, because I know they'll spar the most. So Gaurav Bhatia, this whole point about the crowds in Varanasi, is it silly for anybody to dismiss them entirely as orchestrated crowds, as people who were just brought in by the truckloads? Because that seems to have become a point of contention for the Congress in particular. Would you be dismissive of that and the reactions of people there?
Nidhi, first of all, it cannot be disputed that a large number of people came from adjoining districts. But I don't think they were so enamoring a thing about this crowd, because Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav, when he was going to file his nominations in Azamgarh on the 22nd of April, had a far bigger crowd welcoming him there. It wasn't a 2-kilometer crowd, rather the entire city came to a halt to welcome him. The problem lies here that the media decides to cover Mr. Narendra Modi's filing of nomination for good 3 hours. But whereas other leaders don't get that kind of coverage, I think the media needs to answer that. And secondly, it is also unfortunate that when Mr. Modi was filing his nominations, a more important event in democracy was taking place, and that was casting of votes. And I was going through all the channels. Most of the channels were not even giving it much time the way they generally cover a phase voting. They were only focusing on filing of his nomination. So I think somewhere, you know, this hype or the media giving extra coverage to a leader is also, I think, needs to be diverted to important issues which have national relevance. And one more thing I would say, that if there was a Modi wave, then the candidates in other parts of the state of UP especially would also fetch large crowds. Now, very senior leaders of the BJP are contesting from Lucknow and other cities, and your media persons can go there. They are not even getting an audience of 1,000 or 2,000 persons. So, you know, I think this is a facade that there is a Modi wave and people are gathering in large numbers. And these numbers, I think, the SP itself has seen many a times, and even greater numbers Those were not covered, unfortunately, so they are not in public domain with the same strength as this event was.
You know, there's an important point I think that you and Derek O'Brien both make, and I'll take that to Pinky Anand, which is that, Pinky, you know, with everybody being sort of caught up, particularly in the BJP, about Mr. Modi and this wave, whatever that may be, what about, you know, these regional parties that, you know, will obviously play an important role post-elections? Are we underestimating what Mayawati could do in UP, what the SP could still do in UP, the Trinamool, Jayalalitha? You know, is there a disproportionate focus on this alleged wave? And as N. Ram said, are we misusing the term wave and what it means? Is the NDA getting 250 seats really a wave?
Nidhi, you know, I think the whole discourse seems to have gone into a way which, at least from what some of the speakers spoke and you had asked me to address, only smacks of a kind of jealousy issue here. The fact that you have a wide-ranging report of what Modi ji's phenomenon has been yesterday. Now, as far as the media is concerned, first of all, the media covers what the people want to see. If the people want to see Modi ji's nomination and the splurge of people in his favor and support, well, that's the way the media will be going. The media doesn't really decide for itself what its agenda is. It's all subject matter to public scrutiny and to public desire, so to say, all said and done. One. Secondly, as far as BJP wave is concerned and Mr. Ram's comments on the fact that this is not a wave, because if it's a wave, then it should be 300 plus. I don't quite think we can take such a narrow, pedantic view of the statement wave. Wave simply means that the entire group of people, all the nation is waving around, is getting together behind Mr. Modi and the BJP, and that's the way it seems to be going. I don't think you say 300 number is a wave, 280 is not a wave, 250 is a wave, 270 is not a wave. I don't think that's the way it really functions,
Pinky,
and I would kind of disagree
everybody's
with
waving
Mr. Ram
behind
in that
Mr.
sense.
Modi. What does that mean? My point is that, you know, it has to translate into seats. If the BJP on its own cannot get a significantly bigger number of seats this time, then, you know, is that really going to be a wave? A surge, yes. Impact, yes, as Mr. Ram said. But is there a misuse of the word wave is his point?
I don't know how you're going to disassociate the word surge, impulse, wave from each other. I mean, they all go in the same direction. So whether you call it a matter of degree here or there is one part. And you're saying what will happen? Of course, we are expecting to get well over 272 plus, and that is the entire situation today. So the wave will demonstrate itself, I hope, at 272 plus when Mr. Ram is talking about what numbers might make the waves. So what will happen ultimately, you will see. But this is what the predictions of the people are.
Derek O'Brien had a comment, and then I'll come to Sanjay.
Of well-known people around, in fact, even the NDTV studios.
Yes, Derek.
I have two quick points to make in response to what was said. Number one, there is a numerical measurement. There's a numerical measurement which is available. If you're feeling feverish, you're not 98.4, you're 9900. So a wave in Indian politics, in terms of the Lok Sabha, I totally agree with Mr. Ram. Minimum has to be 300, 330 is a wave. Number one. Number two.
You can both agree with each other, Derek, but I don't think it kind of sets the ball there to say it is what should be 300 and therefore it will be a wave.
Now,
we expect it much better, so don't worry, that's not the issue.
Cool. The bigger point is, the point you make about, the BJP makes about everybody is sounding, what, jealous because people are waving at Mr. Modi. Please, there's not about any jealousy. I've asked you, let's talk about the policy. I asked the question at the top of the program to the Congress spokesperson and the BJP spokesperson, what is your view on the women's reservation bill? Let's not talk about wave and splash. Please tell me.
Derek, just to answer you, yes, we are totally in favor of the women's reservation bill.
Okay,
we are for the women's reservation bill. One, secondly, BJP is the only party which has actually amended its constitution to bring in 1/3 of women at its entire topmost policy-making bodies. You know that.
Okay. One second. It's very fascinating, the terms that are going around tonight from wave to splash. I have to get Sanjay and Derek. I have to. Yes, quickly.
Let me complete. Nidhi,
yeah.
1 second. Just 1 second. 1 second. This is where the distraction is happening about jealousy and wave. Number of percentage of candidates put up by the BJP for the Lok Sabha election, they want 33% reservation, they put up 8%. The Congress won 33%, they put up 14%. Trinamool has put up 27%. So let's get policies, let's talk these numbers, let's not get into jealousy and waving and cameras. This is the point. Let's talk all the policy.
In that case, women
You
will
put up
lose out with
8% candidates and
reservations.
you're serious about the women's reservation bill.
No, but I think Derek makes an important point that there are a
Nidhi.
lot of issues have got silent. Gaurav, one second, I'll take that to Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, has the Congress though gone the other extreme? I know this is an election campaign and a particularly bitter one at that. But to say that, you know, the Modi wave is a media creation, that takes it, as the Prime Minister said. Are you kidding? Are you kidding yourself when you say that?
You know, Nidhi, I was wondering yesterday afternoon as to why all the electronic television channels were so impressed to capture a traffic jam. I've never seen a traffic jam attract so much of media attention. So that actually left me quite nonplussed for a considerable period of time yesterday. And the second point, I mean, which I want to mention here, that,
We
you know,
also
just
covered
as an
Rahul Gandhi's
aside,
nomination.
that when the BJP says they have 33%, well, you know, when they talk about 33% reservation, so far we have seen BJP has 33% of criminals they have given tickets to. So I don't know whether that is also part of the reservation policy. But on the larger issue of what you mentioned here, of the
Sanjay,
Modi
BJP is the only party which has amended its constitution to
after the
include
Bangalore
one-third
voting got
representation of
over,
women.
Pinky, can I finish? Pinky, can I finish?
No, but then,
Can
you
I
know,
finish,
to make a
please? Thank you.
facetious comment about criminalization, when we're talking about women, doesn't seem
I promise you, you'll be able to respond. Let him finish. Let him finish. Yeah.
Nidhi, I don't know who's the anchor of the program today, whether it's you,
come on,
Pinky,
Sanjay,
or
come on,
Derek.
Sanjay.
Okay, the point I want to make here is, in Bangalore, after the voting was done, the RSS, it is reported all over the place, the RSS actually realized that the so-called Modi wave, the myth had been busted. And let me tell you, in Mumbai after yesterday's voting, and let's go back to Bangalore for a second. It's a young city. It's an urban city. It's the Silicon Valley of India. It's got really the more, you know, the yuppie class. It's got the IT population. It's the aspirational middle class. It's really really a microcosm of the kind of city that Mr. Modi's social media and all the television propaganda PR was actually targeting. And you can see for yourself it had absolutely zero impact. Even if you look at Mumbai that we discussed on your program yesterday, there is no wave. If there has been an increase in voter performance, it's largely on account of the fact that in the last 5 years, I think India has changed dramatically. Partly due to you all on television, there's been social media, there are young voters. I think the Election Commission is doing a great job of propagating the importance of voting. You know, all political parties are a lot more competitive. There are new players in the space. I think there has been a historically, if you got 40% voting last time, to expect Mumbai to do 50 is still no great shakes, but it's a way forward. Therefore, for anyone to try and reach a conclusion that there's a Modi wave, I think is nothing but fictitious claims. Now, the BJP is doing that because, you see, it is a great way to try and influence someone who is totally undecided, who's borderline, and who sees, you know, oh my God, look at the number of people in Varanasi. Even if they were hired from 20 other states in India, if they accumulate in one place and the media is obsessed by covering the traffic jam,
but this is the problem.
You know, it tends to give
Sanjay,
momentum.
I'll tell you what the problem is.
An impression that somebody is
you
ahead.
actually raised a couple of very valid points, but before that, the problem is that when you dismiss, I mean, Varanasi is an example, but when you dismiss the crowds that come out only as orchestrated, only, you know, it's the media's fault, we focused on that. Look, we covered Arvind Kejriwal's nomination, we covered Rahul Gandhi's nomination. At that time, none of you all had a problem with it.
Nidhi,
so yes,
can I just
you know, frankly, the media saturates everything it covers these days. There's nothing that is not covered wall to wall.
Let me answer that.
Yes, Sanjay first, and then to Gaurav. Yes, Sanjay.
Well, Nidhi, let me tell you, Mr. Modi, this is a democracy. We all know that the BJP has got substantial corporate funding. And by the way, this is not just the Congress that's raising it, all political parties are. I think you should also read Mayawati ji's comment today. She said the same thing what the Congress has been saying. Now, you can say that, you know, we are political opponents in the same territory, so we have to, you know, take pot shots. I don't think so. I think I remember the Mumbai, you know, kind of speech that Mr. Modi gave here. I live here in Mumbai, and I can tell you that trains and buses were brought in to a particular gathering. Please remember that now when public speeches are given, they are not given just for the audience in front of you, they are given for television. And in television, you can't afford to show empty spaces or a very, you know, thin throng. And that's one of the reasons why Mr. Modi's entire effort has been media driven. So if he doesn't show people, it will look like a flop show.
So you're dismissing it as a PR exercise. Gaurav Bhatia, yes, and then I'll come to Pinky. Yes.
Nidhi, I do not wish to discuss what numbers were there for the nomination that was filed by Mr. Modi. But I can tell you that when Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav filed his nomination in Azamgarh, a far larger crowd had gathered. And you would also concede that at least many channels did not even cover that event. I do not know the reason. Probably it might
because
be
he's
because
not the
of
prime
TRPs
ministerial
or any
candidate
other
of the principal opposition party. There is, I mean, a difference.
But at the same time, I think it should be covered at least so that the truth comes out and the public is aware of what's happening when other national leaders are filing their nominations. And especially in the state of UP, which gives 80 seats to the parliament, it deserves some attention, but it was not done. And secondly, I would like to say regarding the wave of Modi, that in many constituencies in the state of UP, BJP is not even number third. They are out of the fight. So if there is a wave, then, probably the fight would have been SP, BJP directly. But though SP is there in all constituencies with its strong organizational capacity, the BJP is not even there as a number third or the number fourth. So I think, there is no wave. The media is probably highlighting Mr. Modi. That is working to his advantage. The day media cameras move to another party, their doomsday would be quite near.
Okay, we are the punching back clearly. Sandhya wanted to rebut something that Derek said.
Nidhi, not at all. Not at all.
All right.
I'm just stating what I have observed.
Okay.
Because
okay.
I
All
saw
right.
the
Fair enough. That's your
Mr.
point of
Mulayam
view.
Singh Yadav, it was not covered.
That is your point of view. And
I wanted to come back to Mr. Derek
yeah.
O'Brien and his point about women's reservation and FDI. My point when I said that Mr. Modi is setting the agenda is that he is the candidate who is raising the serious issues which face the nation, like water crisis in urban areas and rural areas, like roads, like power generation, various scams, and so on and so forth. I think I would put FDI and women's reservation at the very bottom of the to-do list when a party or a government has done everything else. So I think that roads, power and water, drinking water, for irrigation, these are the priorities of the nation.
Nidhi.
Yes, Derek.
I
but
gave
just
you
one thing,
example.
Nidhi, I just want to add here.
One second, Pinky. 1 second. Let Derek answer.
I gave an example. The example I gave was to highlight the fact or the point that in 8 or 10 big policy issues we're not discussing it, and the Congress and the BJP are getting away with this trivia narrative. If somebody says the women's reservation bill is not important, well, that's that person's view. I think the women's reservation bill is more important, but you have to put your money where your mouth is.
It's a non-issue.
So the Congress spokesperson is sitting there on your program. The manifesto says 33%. The Lok Sabha candidates say 15%. The BJP has 8%, and they are waxing eloquent on the women's reservation. And another panelist in your program says,
can I answer him?
Oh, the other panelist says women's reservation itself is not important. Let me talk about energy. So if we take 6-7 issues, the Congress and the BJP will be shown up as two sides of the same coin, or the same side of the coin, both of them.
Sanjay, give me a second, because this is not a debate about the women's bill, because the point is, I think the point that Derek is trying to make is different, that he believes this talk of the wave splash and everything else is trivial, and everything else gets sidelined in the process. But an important point that Sanjay Jha made, Pinky Anand, was that if there was a wave for Mr. Modi, what has happened in Bangalore and Mumbai, where you would expect, the young urban voters in particular to come out in larger numbers and vote? The Bangalore voting percentage went up slightly, but it wasn't great, nothing to be proud about. In Mumbai also, again, it's much better than before, the best in 25 years. Again, not something to be proud about. What explains these mediocre, these average voter turnouts in these big cities then?
See, first of all, as far as the cities are concerned, voting patterns depend on a lot of features. So just because the numbers there weren't the greatest or comparable to the other large turnouts, for example, let us say West Bengal, or you talk about Delhi, or you talk about any other state, that's not the question. I think the overall question is you to see the averaging in the entire country. You can't limit it to A city or B city or C city. So that I don't think really comes anywhere close to addressing the question.
But the appeal has been to young urban voters. The appeal has been to young urban voters in particular. So then therefore, if there is such a big wave, shouldn't they have come out and it shouldn't have hit 70%?
Nidhi, Nidhi, by all means, but you can't say that there must be standardization across board. You have a large country, you have a large number of issues. You have to have an averaging of the situation, and you take that average across the number of constituencies that you've had elections for already. You'll find one of the highest voting as far as India is concerned. That means A, anti-incumbency, B, it means a vote for somebody, and I'm sure the imagination shouldn't need to be put at rest anywhere to say that it is Mr. Modi.
But do the numbers necessarily mean that? That is my original question. Mr. N. Ram, I'll take that to you. Do numbers that show high voter turnouts necessarily mean that it is an anti-incumbency vote? Now, I mean, you had the 1977 election, which compared to the previous general election saw a vote increase, a voter turnout increase of just, I think, 4-5%. And you saw the results of that. Even in the next election after that, when Indira Gandhi came back, again, I think the gap was again just 4 or 5%. And, you know, those were elections that many would describe as waves. So do the numbers really necessarily reflect what we think they are, what we're talking about tonight, which is a wave in favor of Mr. Modi?
Nidhi, there is quite a literature on this subject, and you're right, we can't oversimplify this. Just turnout alone doesn't indicate the outcome, doesn't give you a good enough hint. There are some situations where a high turnout would indicate that in parts of the country, but normally turnout, you would expect 60%, a little above that, and so on. And this is not very significant for a country as vast and diverse as India, because there's an element of neutralization. For example, in West Bengal, there'll be a certain outcome. In Tamil Nadu, there'll be an outcome, and the BJP doesn't figure anywhere in this part of the country. So obviously, very high turnout in West Bengal, which is extraordinarily high turnout, or in Tamil Nadu, in the rural Tamil Nadu in particular, is not good news for for the BJP at all. So that is not you can't draw big conclusions from data like that. But may I make another point?
Yes.
You talked about issues. Who's setting the issues? While talking about development, as though this election is all about development, let's not forget the vicious communal campaign carried on in some parts of the country, and also don't forget that the BJP manifesto, which was released curiously on the first of the 9 polling days, on April 7th to be precise, did feel the core Hindutva issues with whatever camouflage or softening and so on, the language. The Ram temple, the Ram Janmabhoomi on the grave of the Babri Masjid, abrogating Article 370 after dialogue, and also the Uniform Civil Code. They also talked about rethinking and perhaps reworking the nuclear doctrine, raising some troubling, some worrying issues. So these are issues that are typical core Hindutva issues. They take the name of great nationalism, so and so on. So I think these can't be left out of our discussion, because in that sense the BJP is trying to set the terms for this contest and not for the good of the country.
I'll take that to Sandhya.
The nuclear policy, sir, was initiated first by Jawaharlal Nehru. The first atomic explosion was Indira Gandhi. And Atalji after that continued some tests and came up with no first use. They have said it needs a revision, which doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be overturned. It's just re-looking at the issue in the context of the environment around us. And at the same time, they have said they want friendly relations with every country in the neighborhood and in the world. So I don't think we are heading towards any kind of conventional or nuclear war. I think
but
that
what about the point on the numbers, which I originally raised, which is that the fact that more people are coming out to vote necessarily indicate anti-incumbency?
I think the fact that more people are coming out to vote is certainly a sense of assertive citizenship. That is the first thing that we should accept and appreciate.
Which could go anyway.
Which can go, which I said will reflect. We know it when the boxes open. Now it's so soon. It's very short time away, but it will definitely reflect the overall sentiment on a state-wise basis. I don't think it will be very dramatically different from what we expect in states.
All right, quick last comments. Pinky Anand, would you, after hearing all the views tonight, temper that expectation of a giant tsunami, as Amit Shah called it?
No, I think it only substantiates it. The fact that everybody is so nervous about it from the other end of the spectrum, and the idea is to try to deflect it on any petty or other issue that might be even available, I think clearly shows that we have everything to expect with the tsunami.
The one point that I want to make in support is that there is no other pole to Mr. Modi in this election, and that we should accept.
They may not be, but there are also important regional parties.
How much will the regional parties pull, and in which region? Naveen Patnaik is not making any big claims.
Okay, so you're saying that don't overestimate what the regional parties will do. Mr. N. Ram, would you agree with that? Is the BJP overconfident, do you think?
It should not get
I think internally probably not. Probably they're a bit worried. But publicly, yes, they project tremendous overconfidence.
Why do you say they're worried?
About their likely perform. They're worried because they will clearly emerge as a single largest party by some distance. But how short will they be from that magic number of 272? And to get that, what will be the price they have to pay? What will be the constraints they have to accept? And that's a huge responsibility. That's why they would be worried. Not that they wouldn't be the single largest party, that's guaranteed. The Congress, I think, has already accepted the position, whatever they say in public, that their role will be in the opposition, unless there's a huge surprise and the so-called third alternative produces the numbers that can be sustainable, can put up a challenge to the BJP. But President Pranab Mukherjee is surely going to invite the leader of the elected legislative leader of the BJP to have the first turn in forming the government. Will they get enough? The regional parties are going to do very, very well in some parts of the country, large regions of the country. No question about it.
All right, well,
again, no wave, because for a wave you go back.
Nidhi?
Yes, and as you said, very importantly, that for a wave, it's a different ball game. Last quick comments, first to Gaurav Bhatia and then to Sanjay. Yes, Gaurav.
Nidhi, I think everybody is underestimating the power of regional parties and the numbers that they would finally get on 16th of May. The regional parties would do very well, especially the SP in UP would gain a lot, and that would be evident on 16th of May. Another very quick point I would like to say, that you expect more seriousness and depth from a prime ministerial candidate rather than talking about ABCD and RSVP and jibes like these, which are very shallow. It would have been nice if he could be talking about important issues, national issues, while delivering speeches like Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav has been doing.
All right, Sanjay Jha, would you, of course, Mulayam Singh Yadav, bigger crowds, SP will do phenomenally well. Gaurav, you're a good spokesperson for your party.
I said the same during the 2012 elections and the media dismissed it. We were proven right at that time.
Okay, well, a lot has changed since 2012. Let's see what this election brings. Sanjay Jha, would you at least be willing to concede a Modi undercurrent? Okay, I mean a little ripple, something at the end of this? Forget the wave.
Well, I'll give you one example, because I think the BJP spokesperson said, look at Pan India. I'll give you an example of Kerala. Kerala saw over 72% voting. And I can promise you that we are at the center, we are at the state in Kerala. And, that's not an anti-incumbency vote at all. It's going to be a big sweep for the Congress party in Kerala. So that itself is, Nidhi, a manifestation of the fact that the voter turnout is huge. It's become very neutral between what used to be the conventional model of the past, that is, is anti-incumbency. It's now more pro-incumbency as well. I think the BJP will probably recognize that, because they had good voting percentage in MP and Chhattisgarh, and they retained those states.
In fact, in Madhya Pradesh, it went up, and it was for Shivraj Singh Chauhan.
It was for them. The point I want to make here, Nidhi, is that the BJP is overplaying its card. And I'll tell you, there is perhaps a discerning Modi wave, but it's an anti-Modi wave that's really happening. It's not a pro-Modi wave. In Mumbai, I have met many people yesterday, who said we actually went out to vote because we wanted to ensure that the BJP and Mr. Modi is defeated. So let me tell you, when the voting percentage goes up, unlike the the right-wing extremism, I think the secular, moderate individual is not noisy. They don't talk too much from the top, but they come out and silently cast their vote. And I want to assure Mr. Ram at my last statement that the Congress party is going to be the single largest party when the votes are counted on May 16th.
All right. Well, I think that's brought a smile to many faces tonight, Sanjay. Thank you very much for that. I know you're confident and valiantly fighting on. And to
mine.
But do at least acknowledge a ripple, if nothing
One
else.
line.
And Sanjay has the last line.
I wish the Congress stalwarts who had decided not to fight this election had taken your advice before they took that decision.
All right, that was Sandhya's parting.
Are you referring to Yashwant Sinha? He belongs to your party.
No,
Ma'am, Yashwant Sinha belongs to your party, not to mine.
I meant Chidambaram.
All right, well, I have to thank all of you at this point. Thank you so much for joining us.
No,
Can you believe
his son is fighting. Don't worry about it.
We still have 3 more phases to go. We have 3 weeks of this election that are still left. 194 constituencies that have still not voted. So, we're done with most of the election, but not quite the entire election. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us tonight. We'll be back after this quick break, including what Sanjay Jha was talking about earlier in Mumbai, a huge outcry by people who had their names missing from the voter list. Now the Election Commissioner has apologized and has promised an inquiry. More on that after the break. Well, the other big story today, Election Commissioner H.S. Brahma has apologized to the people of Mumbai for the many names missing from the voter lists, promising an inquiry. The missing names have caused considerable anger in the city, which saw a turnout of 52%. That was the highest in 25 years, but also the lowest among India's metros. In fact, the BJP candidate from Mumbai Northeast, Kirit Somaiya, also filed a police complaint today.
I have voted at this same booth from 1970 to now 2011, the last one. This time my full family has been defranchised.
I think we are trying to do our bit in terms of fulfilling our responsibilities and duties, and if the system is not supporting that, it surely is, apart from frustration and anger, a short disappointment.
Regular Mumbai voters upset with the Election Commission. Thousands complaining their names deleted, they just could not vote on Thursday. Embarrassed, the Election Commission apologized, saying they would probe the matter. NGOs claim names of voters in entire housing colonies have simply disappeared, but the total number still unclear. Meanwhile, the BJP has registered an FIR alleging conspiracy.
मुंबई, पुणे, महाराष्ट्र के लगभग 20 लाख नाम इस प्रकार से उड़ाए गए। तो यहाँ के जिलाधिकारी और उसके जो नीचे के ऑफिशियल थे, वो एनसीबी के दबाव और प्रभाव में आकर देखो एक और लाखों नाम उड़ाए गए।
हा दावा चुकीचा आहे, फसवा म्हणजे कुठेतरी दिशाभूल करणारा दावा आहे आणि मतदान यादीतून दुबार नावे किंवा मृत्युमुखी पडलेली नावा किंवा शिफ्टेड नावा कमी झाल्यामुळे हे आपल्याला सगळे आकडेवारी याच्यात बदल दिसते.
The issue highlighted as it wasn't just the Aam Aadmi. Eminent lawyer Ram Jethmalani, Bollywood director Madhur Bhandarkar and even HDFC chairman Deepak Parekh could not get their finger inked.
हम 2-3 दिन के पहले कार्ड का इंतजार कर रहे थे, आदमी को भेजा, बोला आएगा, पीछे 2 दिन कल बोला कि नाम नहीं है आपका.
In fact, I am lucky I was allowed to vote because according to the Election Commission, I am just 25 years old. While I don't mind that, I am also a woman and not a man. The Election Commission has certainly made some serious errors, but the larger lesson and the sad reality, don't take your right to vote for granted. Double check and ensure your name is on that list. In Mumbai with Sunil Singh, Tejas Mehta for NDTV.
And that's it on Left, Right and Centre this week. We'll see you all on Monday. Have a nice weekend.